Good evening, and let me be the first to welcome you back to the cellar. It's good that you decided to give it another listen. Tonight's tale revolves around greed, opportunity, and a chance of a lifetime for fame. A group of 3 paranormal investigators will find out firsthand the price one may have to pay in order to capture evidence from the other side. So I invite you to sit back and relax and try to keep the terror and your fear to a minimum, as I like to call tonight's tale, The Devil's Den. Jeremy grasped the cold steel with a golden chest handle in his hand as he had to steady his arm, and his heart was emanating from all the nervous shaking. Jeremy wasn't sure what he would find this time when he opened it. He knew it would be important because it all led up to this moment. He found an unmarked film reel with a label which seemed to be written in Latin. He threw the tape in his bag and ran out like a bat out of hell. His colleagues yelled for him to stop, but their cries had become unheard as they faded into the background. The tape was all the proof Jeremy would need to make everyone believe he had not gone crazy. But to understand Jeremy's dire situation, you must travel back in time exactly 2 weeks prior. Jeremy was abruptly ripped from his dream as the alarm bell buzzed and resonated in his ear. Another week awaited him as he shook off the sleep from his eyes. Jeremy never missed an alarm. Jeremy never missed an appointment for as long as he could remember. It kept him and his life in a constant routine. But he always was left wanting more. He was obsessed with the paranormal universe. He wanted more than anything to obtain definitive proof that something existed outside the realm of reality. He would never miss a TV show or a documentary that featured something paranormal or a strange encounter. Any opportunity to sharpen his skills he would take. This made his role improve as a paranormal investigator. Jeremy was lead investigator for the group. Josh was in charge of the video, and that left Annabelle to run the audio. They had made countless trips to some of the most nightmarish locations a person could possibly imagine. They had investigated basements with leftover torture chambers, cemeteries, abandoned mental asylums, and buildings where some of the worst, most gruesome tragedies and murders had taken place. All in the name of searching for evidence of another world after this. As Jeremy mentally prepared himself, it was once time to gear up for tonight's investigation. Hey, You finally got your ass out of bed, Jeremy. I've been wondering if you would show up. Don't want to let our audience down, do we? Josh poked at Jeremy, as usual, trying to get a reaction out of him. Hey, we can run the show without you, boss. The pretty one is already here, eh, Annabelle? Oh, you're such a charmer, Josh. It's lucky this is your day job, because you definitely weren't a poet in your previous life. Annabelle shot back. Josh had tried numerous awkward attempts to hint at his attraction to Annabelle, but being professionals, they would always stick to the investigation. They all had the same passion for the paranormal universe, and although they joked around a lot, when it came down to an investigation, they were fully focused. Alright, you two, quit acting like a bunch of damn hormonal kids and listen up. Tonight's lockdown is especially eerie. Therefore, it is especially dangerous, so I would hope both of you will listen up to the backstory. So you might want to pay attention to the details, because goddamn, this is a gold mine for paranormal activity. Oh, come on! Seriously? Are you drinking again? Oh, come on, Jeremy. It's just a little liquid courage. Should lighten up a little bit. You know what, Josh? We can talk about your drinking after the PowerPoint presentation. As I was. Jeremy has become increasingly annoyed with Josh's constant outbursts and his inability to keep his alcohol away from his duty as a professional investigator. But this never changed the fact that he was an excellent video technician. Anyways, I hope you guys listen up, because you will in fact regret it if you don't listen to all the details. These photos are very important. This town had a mental illness that shunned them from the rest of the community. That was the reason that this town was created. People weren't afraid to be themselves. That's what made them strong. The thing is, everything remained peaceful, and this town did a damn good job of keeping itself together. Peaceful, calm, until mysterious boxes started showing up. At first, they contained helpful items, food supply, amenities, not available to them since they were so remotely located. At first, people were able to ration out things equally, but before long, people let greed take over. Strange items started appearing inside the boxes. Unmarked bottles with liquids people would drink unknowing of its contents. Sometimes the boxes would contain notes accusing certain town members that somebody was taking food or taking more of an allotment than allowed. The strong bond of trust that they had, all once shared, was beginning to quickly crumble. Fights would break out over the next appearance of boxes, and it turned the people into savages. This soon began the decline in the community. The more the boxes would show up, the worse things became for the whole town. The initial rumor behind what was happening is people began to slowly lose their minds, became increasingly paranoid. The longer they stayed within the vicinity of the village. At first it was just small occurrences, people claiming they would see dark faceless figures that would peer in their windows at night. Then people knew they had to lock. Items that people knew they locked up, that they acquired from the box, were misplaced or missing without any explanation. things would progressively become even darker. The residents claimed they would start to lose consciousness because they would become overtaken with fear that those dark figures were trying to suffocate them. The hallucinations were violent, and people began coming out with more outlandish stories of what was happening to them. One of the main stories of people were suffocating in airtight containers that would slowly shrink in on them until there was no air left. The townsfolk would look on in horror as the people were actually choking themselves to death. But in their brain they truly believed that the dark figure was responsible for their demise. It became an epidemic as fights continued to break out. People were even turning on their own family members, accusing them of stealing, and would end in people being left in bloody heaps over the confrontations. The group cringed. What, you guys can't handle this? You are all professionals, right? But in the back of all three of their minds, they knew that this investigation would be like any other. The spine-tingling fear ran all the way up their spines as the morbid, detailed, gruesome images were flipped through one after the other. The images of people hanging with a death grip on their own throats were shown. Panic. Blood vessels being popped into their irises, turning their eyes blood red, made every single person in the room blood run cold. So as you guys can see, the decision to condemn the entire town was quickly made after the sixth instance of someone losing touch with reality, suffocating, or hanging themselves, in fear that that entity that was stalking them, watching them, would never let them go. Let me pour myself another one, Jeremy. God damn. That's certainly a damn positive backstory there, boss. You weren't bullshitting, were ya? Negative, Josh. I was not. And as much as I would like to indulge and join you in that drink, we have a responsibility to these people to find out what exactly really is going on. I really would like you to put that drink down and take this seriously. You know, this could make or break our reputations in the paranormal community, right? You guys need to put on your serious face. Old Jeremy always worried about the PR and the public exposure. Couple drinks don't never hurt none of us. Never hurt me, never affected my judgment. Let me ask you something. Me having a couple pints, has that ever made me less of an investigator? And with that, they all began packing up the necessary gear. Electronic voice recorders, night vision cameras, motion detectors, and one of their trusty VHS cameras. Jeremy's thought was that old technology could still prove useful and shouldn't be discredited because of its age. Well, I put my drink down, boss. Damn shame, but we are locked, cocked, and ready to go. Josh cockily proclaimed. With that, the group headed down the trail into a deep, dark path of wilderness. The further down they traversed, the darker it became. Despite the fact that it was in the middle of the day, they all felt a shiver down their spines. But they were all too proud to admit any fear. The reality of the situation was that not all of them would be returning from what would be their final paranormal investigation. Well, kids. Here is the main gate. Looks like I still have my niche for navigation, huh? Jeremy boasted. Lucky you're here, boss. Because as you know, me and Annabelle can run the tech like no other. But when it comes to the investigation and the navigation, you're the man for sure. That's what I pay you two for. So let's make this an investigation, one to remember. The gate was locked from the beginning, so they had anticipated having to cut it to gain access to the community. It wasn't exactly legal what they were doing, but that had never stopped them before. With the snap of a chain, they were in. As the heavy door's creaky hinges slowly opened with an ear-piercing screech, they all glanced upon the community. Nature had decided to take over the land as tree roots and branches broke through building windows and side doors. Damn. We haven't even stepped foot in this place and I already feel a shiver running up my spine. Annabelle rarely showed any hesitation on an investigation, but this one had felt different. A shiver, Annabelle. Well, rub it out. Would that make you feel better? Jeremy put his hand on Annabelle's shoulder. Yeah, you know what? I think I can manage. Annabelle smacked his hand away as he felt the sting of the hit. Alright, you guys know the drill. We have about an hour to set up cameras, tripods, video audio equipment. So let's not waste any more time. Jeremy's leadership role always took the attention of the group and got them back on track. And immediately they began unpacking the gear. That marks the end of part 1 of The Devil's Den. The terror and the horror has just begun. So please stay tuned for part 2. As Jeremy, Josh, and Annabelle begin to set up camp, which will prove to be one of the most horrifying investigations they have ever conducted. Subscribe and stay tuned for more terrifying tales from the cellar of horror.